DBS community, welcome back to another video here with Kyle Chris, and today I have a little small series we're going to be doing, just going over some of the decks that I was going to play for Nationals that I did potentially want to take, and just go over some of the lists, just because I had a few different ones that I thought were pretty good, and you know, just wanted to do some content for you guys while we wait for some new stuff to come out. So we have Hatchiyak. I talked about this in my my Blue Goku deck video. Hatchiyak, I've loved this leader ever since it came out. This is actually the first deck I've ever built in the game. Definitely something I could have taken the Nats. I think if I had known I was going to be playing against so much red, I probably would have taken this deck instead, because I did test this against a lot of red. And outside of Gogeta, which is like a 50-50 matchup sometimes, Sin, it feels like you can just plow through Sin. Red-Yellow Sin's a little weird, but there's a lot of red Sin that we saw, mono red Sin. So this is a 60-card list. As you guys know, I always play 60-card lists with Hatch. Just kind of go over the list. I'm not going to go over the leader too much, just because most people know what the leader does. If you guys need to know what the leader does, please look it up. It's like a flying Nimbus effect, essentially. So I got some 1-drops here. So I have 2 Gohan, 2 Kami, and 2 of the Goku Negates. So these are the main 1-drops we play in the main deck. I'm not going to show up the side deck just because there's no real point in doing the side deck. But so these are all just for different particular reasons. And Hatch is kind of a black toolbox deck. So these 2 guys here are cantrips that draw you a card. Gohan is a anti-blue D-Magic card. So all the blue matchups, you can just place this card on board, and then this card is just going to live the whole game and stop your opponent from being able to restand energy off of Whis Coercion and D-Magic. Kami, if your opponent has more than 4 battle cards, you can tap 2 after you played this to wipe the board of 4 or less, ignoring barrier. This is good against yellow, mainly, but also Gamma. Gamma just sped a lot of battle cards, so you can just kill everything to get rid of their combo power. And then Goku is a 1-drop floodgate, or not a 1-drop floodgate, but just a 1-drop hard negate. Does not have any combo power, so that's why we kind of narrowed it down to 2, because we don't really need that many more. So, but all of these cards are great 1-drops because we get them back with Power Burst. Still probably the best black negate outside of Petrification. Tap 1 or Sparking 5, and you can grab back any of the 1-drops from your drop or warp. So all these cards are recyclable at any point. And then the side deck, you have cards like Ghost Warrior or Dende, and those cards are also good against blue, and those are other things that you can potentially run. And you also grab that stuff back with Power Burst as well. So got that. We run the Bardock Unison. We run it as a 3 of, because Black Smoke 2-drop is a huge thing, and this card just dies to it. In most matchups, you're just gonna either side it out or charge it. It's good against going late against blue decks. You can just play this against the blue deck. Just gives you an extra attacker, just gives you an extra draw. They're not gonna be able to remove it as easy. But also late game, you can tap 2, play this, and then -2 to make your opponent warp a card every time they attack with something. This is good against red matchups because your opponent plays Gogeta. I believe this effect stops Gogeta because your opponent can't warp a card when they attack with Gogeta, because Gogeta is not affected by the skill, or it works in the battle, or works in the leader. I don't really know. I'm sure someone will tell me. But that was one of like the weird reasons to play it. But also just against like Red Sin, you play this and then it stops all their 8-drops from. They basically have to warp a card then, and it becomes a little bit less worth it when they do things. Especially like if they go to Almighty Resistance, now they're dropping 3 cards from their hand. It's got some pretty cool things. So 3 Bardock. Whenever they add a better 3-drop Unison or a 20k Unison that draws you a card, you'll just replace it with that. 3 of the Lord Slug. You can cycle back 3 battle cards between 3 and 7 back into your deck to play this guy for free. Triggers a lot of free play effects like Trunks, Poutine, things like that. And then you can warp. You can send this card to the drop from your battle area to warp any battle card with energy cost equal to or greater than their current energy. So you can play this against Red Sin, Gogeta, blue decks, green decks, whatever. And also just like I said, it's a free play. So you play it, do the effect, you can then get rid of it, warp something, and then this will cycle back cards. And this also is a 4 cost. You can cycle back this as well. So good card. The only Ghost Warrior that we run in the deck. The other ones aren't really necessary. 3, not even a scratch. I love this negate for multiple reasons. One we'll go about later in the deck. But the 1-drop hard negate, and then you can tap 1 to warp this card to draw a card. So it's like a mini ape that also just acts as a negate. We run a lot of negates in this deck, and having a negate that also can replace itself the next turn is pretty cool. And then 2 petrification. You'd run 2, probably side the other 2. You pitch a card. If you do pitch a card, you can choose any battle card, ignoring barrier. Can't attack, activate combo, can be used in the combo, and activate skills until the end of your opponent, until the end of your next turn. What's nice about this is this stops on play autos. So if you swing with this and your opponent has an effect like that makes you discard a card, you don't have to discard. If the card gets to restand, they don't. If it has activate main effects like Vegeta Secret Rare, they don't get to use them. Very, very cool card. Very, very cool card. 8-drop Sin, you can stop them from using their activate battle. Again, just really cool negate. So more negates for the deck. Crazy, right? More negates. Now we have the battle card negates. So we have 2 Supreme Kai, and then of course 4 Oceanus. So these cards you can, for one, you can get these cards back off of your Ghost Warrior because they are between 3 and 7. So any battle card you see in this deck from now on throughout the rest of the deck profile, you can actually get back, I think, except for your super combos with Ghost Warrior. But Kai, you can play for 1 if you or your opponent has more than 3 cards in the warp. So if you play against a black deck that warps stuff, or you play against a deck that overwhelms early, this card becomes live much earlier. You play it, you warp a battle card, it comes back at the end of the turn with its skills negated. And then Oceanus is your floodgate. So with Vegeta counterplay being reduced to just the Vegito deck, makes this card much better. So you pitch a card, comes down, your opponent, every time they attack, they have to mill top 4 cards of their deck. Very powerful. Not much really else to say about it. This card has been hated for formats. In this deck particularly, it is very good because one of your win conditions is just stalling your opponent out, making them lose as many resources as possible, and then just letting them mill themselves out. So these cards again are grabbable off the slug. Just good to have. Now we have the Power Awaken Super Saiyan God Trunks. Wanted a 3rd winner, but don't have one. This card is a value card, essentially. So this deck does mill. So we do need to have cards that we can activate in the drop area and or the warp. So this card, you can play it from the warp for 2 if you have 8 or more cards in the warp. And you play this guy out. He's got Deflect. He comes in. And when he attacks, he's got dual attack. He's 20k. And you can put 3 black battle cards from your warp back into your drop. Now, why this card is good is this card allows you to cycle cards after you've overwhelmed. So our overwhelms in this deck are really just for utility purposes. We're not really trying to kill somebody with our overwhelms, but we can cycle them. You know, we can use this to cycle cards back into our drop, so then we can use our overwhelms effectively. Also, it is just a dual attacker, so we can use it to clear stuff. Gives us just something to surprise them with from the warp. So if we don't have anything in our hand, we still have a play that we can do from the warp. So when this card's removed from the battle area, it is removed from the game instead. So you cannot combo with this from the battle area. It does not work that way, because once you combo with it, it goes away. It's the same thing if it gets popped or anything, it just dies. Can't get it back. One of the best overwhelms probably for the game. This is one of your best turn awaken plays. Is Demigra. So it's cost 2. It's a overwhelm or dark overwhelm in this deck. It's going to be dark overwhelm, meaning that it stays. You play it, draw a card, warp a battle card, and then every time this card attacks, your opponent has to warp a card from their hand. So this is really good on turn 3 because you're going to have 6 cards more likely in your drop. So you play this guy out for 2, warp something on board, draw a card, make them warp a card, and then swing your leader. So you're drawing 2 cards, they're losing a card. The more this card sticks, the better it's going to be. There's a lot of decks where this card does not stick, but also there's matchups where possibly it might. And if it does, those are matchups you're probably going to win anyways. So, Demigra. Also, you can get it back off the slug, as I said before. Vegeta Super Combo. Depending on which version of the deck you play, you might also play Goten, which is the you need 5 or more cards in your warp. But Vegeta's good because we do run some Gogeta stuff, and we like the tuck and draw too. But if I was taking this, if I did take this deck to Nationals, I probably would have switched it for Goten. More than likely. Just because this is a 0 combo cost, and we don't like 0 combo cost in this deck. So, guess we just dropped some cards. So that's okay. So we'll move over there. We'll move on from there. So, One of the new cards is going to be Mask Sand, Belligerent Warrior. This card actually got me back into thinking Hatch could be relevant again. So it is a 7-drop, deflect, 20k. If your leader's black and you send a battle card, or I'm sorry, you send a card from your drop to your warp this turn, reduce this card in your hand by 6. So this becomes a 1-drop 20k deflect, right? So this is off of Overwhelm. Also, we could use it off of Not Even a Scratch. So if we can use Not Even a Scratch to send it to the warp to draw, we can tap another one to play Mask Sand Belligerent Warrior. So what this card does, it comes down, gains crit for the turn, and then you get to warp 2 battle cards off your opponent's board, and they come back at the end of their next turn with their skills negated. So why this card is good is this allows you to remove potential combo power and attackers for your opponent's turn, but also it just removes anything, right? So battle cards that have remove effects when they're gone, secret rares, you can just warp any 2 cards, blockers, anything, right? So even like, let's say you swing with your leader and they like token negate, you can play this, warp the token negate, warp something else, and then swing with something else and then combo this off, right? And then this is a 7 cost, so you can put it back in your deck. This card's really, really good. It does gain crit for just the turn. I wish it just had crit, it'd be even better. But being able to have this on board and then swing it for 20 crit is really good, especially like turn 2. But this is another way of just sapping resources from your opponent and keeping stuff off the board. So we have our main Overwhelm, which is Beyond All Limits. You grab back anything between 3 and 7 from your warp. We can grab back Oceanus, we can grab back Belligerent Warrior, Demigra, Slug, Oceanus, Supreme Kai, almost any of the other cards in the deck except for your 8-drop and your secret rare. Also acts as a Gogeta piece, but being able to just like one of the best plays you can do is you tap 6, so you play like this guy, right? You swing twice, put the cards in there, play this guy, grab back a defensive card, and then swing with your leader and combo this guy off. You go up to 25, and that's just like a really good play that you can do. A lot of value there. And you'll find maybe times you're going to play this guy and swing with him, right? It is a 30k, so you can actually do that. So it's just good to have, and I think 3 is probably the best number. Going up to 4 is a little too much. Going to 2 means if you mill 1, you only have 1 more to grab. Sometimes also this is just good to play as a 30k to grab back a Goku to put stuff into your warp, and you just grab back another Beyond All Limits, and then you can just keep cycling them. The current best boss monster for the deck. Apparently I did drop some other cards here. So currently the best boss monster still for the deck is going to be the 8-drop Gogeta. Unfortunately, I do say, because this card is really, really good. But we need a better boss monster. That's probably one of the reasons why I didn't take it, because this, against a lot of blue, this card just doesn't work. So it doesn't have deflect, it has blocker and triple attack. When this card swings, your opponent warps 2 cards off their board and 2 cards from their hand. The cards on board are ignoring barrier, and they have to choose. And it swings 3 times. This card is incredible. Against any matchup other than blue, this card will probably just win you the game. Against red and green, this card just slaughters them. Especially if they decide to like Dormant or something stupid like that. But you also can play it for 4. You take a Goku and a Vegeta Xeno, battle area and or drop, send it to the warp. So you can overwhelm this guy out and then play it and then use the Goku. You can do different things, and they don't have to be the same cost, which is good. So 2 Gogeta. 1 Feign Greeting, and then 1 Thwarting the Dark Empire. I only used 1 of this because I only had 1. I was borrowing it. I would probably use 2 Vegetas, and then you can use Vegeta just to warp a card from your opponent's hand. This card's cool. You can swing with it to 30k crit, warp up to 4 energy worth of cards. It's not great in this deck. This is the better one to use just because it makes your opponent warp a card, and it's a promo. So, you have style points there for being a high rarity. So we have some 1-drops here. So we have 1 4-drop Sin. This is for blue matchups. Also just remove Blue Unison. 1 Sand Transcendence. You can evolve this on top of the 1-drop. Floodgate, or the 1-drop negate. It's a 25k double striker, but mainly you're going to use it for the same effect that Trunks does, which is puts back 4 black battle cards from your warp to your drop. And you can play it turn 4 and on, essentially. Another card you can evolve from is this Goku. This Goku is awesome. So I actually would probably run more of this Goku if I had it. The two top effects do not matter because your leader is not Supreme Kai, which is completely stupid that they leader lock this as Supreme Kai. But you play it, it's an Overrealm for free. It's a 3-drop. It's a 3-drop Overrealm 3. You play this and then activate main. You send this card to the warp. You draw 2 and warp a card. So why this card is good? For one, it is a 5K. Meaning we can use it for fusion material with our Vegeta if we absolutely need to. 2, this card allows us to put cards in our warp, so we can put Trunkses in our warp, we can put other cards in our warp, and it just allows us to see more cards. And then the third reason is that this you can put back with Slug. So while this card you can't put back with Slug, and the 1-drop you can only put back if you have Power Burst, this you actually can put back into your deck, and it's a 5K combo. So that's why we were running one of the 5-drop Gokus, but realistically, if I had another one of these reflective strikes, I would have just ran the other one. So, and then we have one thwarting, of course, one thwarting the Dark Empire. So this is another reason why we run the same power levels of the Goku and Vegeta. So like you can use the Goku here, you can play it. You can draw 2, warp this, and a Vegeta if you don't already have a Vegeta in there, or if you do, you just get this in the warp, and then you can tap 1 to play Gogeta. And then you swing 25k double strike, and you warp up one of your opponent's battle cards. Just still a good pressure card. It's still a really difficult 1-drop to deal with. It's not nearly as oppressive anymore, but it is something we can run in the deck. So I just decided to, fit it in there for the style points. 2 Fu mission accomplished. Great card. You tap 2. If this card's in your drop area, you remove it from the game, and you add back any battle card under 7 cost. So the card you're going to add back off of this, almost 9 times out of 10, is going to be your Vegeta super combo, or any of your super combos in general. So you just tap 2 to add back a super combo, and you're good. Or you can use it to grab back Oceanus. You can use it to grab back anything, really. But mainly it's going to be this. If not this, it's going to be Oceanus as your second best bet. Our cool utility package, we run 2 Brainwash and 2 Assassin from the Darkness. Brainwash, you tap 1, you crit a life, and you don't take damage for the turn. So against Sin, other decks like that are just going to try to kill you really, really quickly over like triple strikes, you can you just let them combo their whole hand, and you just tap 1, crit a life, and then you're good, and you don't take damage. This is also good from going from 5 to 4, since we don't use the token negate in this deck, or you can't use a token negate in this deck. Black Mass Saiyan's really cool. You can play it on your turn and your opponent's turn. They do different effects, but it cost 1 black, and it's activate battle. So if you play it on your opponent's turn, you get to warp one of your. If you play it on your turn, you get to warp a 6 cost or less on their side, and it's got deflect. If you have, you can't. This card can't attack if you while you have 3. This card can only attack. If you have 3 or more energy, and your leader is a Z leader, or you have a Z battle card in play. So essentially, Hatch doesn't have a Z leader yet, so you have to have a Z battle card in play. So that part kind of sucks. But we're never really using it for attacking. The best part about this, you can use it on defense, and it gives your leader 5k. You choose one of your cards and give it 5k for the turn. So essentially, you're going to use this as a black senzu bean for your leader, and that's really good, especially if your opponent's playing a dual attacker. So then you can use this and then use another card just to combo out. Or early, if your opponent's swinging with like double strike or crit or something like that, you can use this just to pump your leader by 5k for the turn. That's pretty good. Also, you can get all these back off the slug. So last 2 cards, well, one of the last 2 cards, Demon God Shroom and Salsa. So this is a 25k Servant. Servant essentially gives this guy 10k and he can't restand. But we play this card from the Warp. So you activate battle for 2 black. If you have 3 or more energy and there are 2 or more black battle cards in your combo area, you can play this guy from your Warp for 2. So any of these cards you can combo off. Like you can play this guy, tap 1, and then this guy has 0 combo powers. You can just put him in your combo area just to get rid of him. As long as you have 2 cards in there, you can tap 2 to play this guy. When this card comes into play, your opponent chooses a card in their hand and one of their battle cards ignoring barrier and send it to the Warp. What's cool about this is if your opponent hand dumps on like 1 card and they only have 1 card in their hand, like 1 card on the board, you can just tap 2 for this. Like just combo 2 dead cards from your hand and just tap 2 for this. They have to warp it, and they warp a card from their hand. And then this card on the crackback, this is an 8-drop, so it gets around your leader effect. It's a 35k double strike. I wanted to add some 1-drops that have overlords, so you can bottom deck this again, but there's nothing that's really good. I need like a barrier one, which we don't currently have. But these are also 10k, so they work against Gogeta as well. And the best card in this entire deck is none other than Cumber, aka Evil Saiyan Malice Made Flesh. So this card has a ton of text. Best part about this is you can play this from your warp or your hand for 2 energy. This is insane. This is the exact secret rare that the deck needed to be viable, because one of the problems with the deck is that you would possibly mill your secret rare off of your leader effect. So if you mill the secret rare, in most decks you're kind of screwed, or you have to find other ways to play around it. And in this deck, you don't have to. So if you mill it, you're like, great, I know where it is. I can play it at any time. So if your opponent has 3 more energy, you can tap 2 from your hand for your warp and play this guy. I'm sorry, you play this guy after you tap 2, you play it from your hand or your warp. Card comes into play. You choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and send it to the warp. Then it has 2 different forms of text here. So the first one, if your opponent has 2 or more life, you get to look at their life, place 1 card 7 or less from their life into their warp. They shuffle their life. Then you choose a battle card from their warp, 7 or less, play it in your battle area with skills negated for the game. Essentially, you get to burn them a damage. If they have 2 life, you can burn them down the 1, which is insane for a black deck. That's absolutely crazy, right? So first of all, you can burn them for a life. You get to look at their life, get to burn something other than a secret rare. You get to burn a negate, a super combo, whatever it is. Then you get to play a battle card on from 7 or less from their side. So you get combo power or another swing, more likely going to be combo power. But then the bottom effect of this card is insane. So when your opponent plays a battle card 7 or less, you send one of your battle cards to the owner's warp. If you do, you gain control over the played card. So what's cool about this, the wording, is that you don't actually choose the card. Meaning if a card has barrier, you can still take it. So if your opponent, if you're playing against Red Sin and they play, I don't know, they play their Z battle card, right? The Vegeta, right? So you can play this, take the Vegeta, right? Because it's a Z battle card, it's just removed from the game, so you don't actually get the card, but it's fine. They play their 4-drop Harbinger guy, the double strike. You can just take it. They play a battle card with barrier. I don't think Sin has any card with barrier, but if you just, any opponent plays a battle card with barrier, great, you just take it. And then it removes something off of their field. They wasted energy, and now you have 5k combo power. Or you can just keep it on board for the next time, once per turn, whenever you can do that again. This card is incredible. This card is going to be meta defining at some point. Currently not right now, but this is probably the best black secret rare that we've gotten. For one, it is a black only secret rare, which makes it amazing because this is 2 black energy. This isn't colorless or anything else like that, like Supreme Kai or Pan. And then it just has so much utility for it. So this is definitely the best secret for this deck now. Hands down, if you play this deck, you have to play the Evil Saiyan as your secret rare. So, but that is the deck of what I would have taken to Nats if I was playing Hatchiyak. I do think it would have been really good. Matchups against Red Sin are very good. Matchups against Blue, a lot of the blue decks that were playing well weren't playing like the Turning the Tide Kale type of stuff. So you probably wouldn't have to worry about a lot of that stuff. You would mainly be worrying about Ape and then Gohan Secret Rare as kind of your big things, or I guess Kaioken Secret Rare as well. So I think this deck would have performed pretty well against those decks, especially with what I would have cooked up in the side deck. But it is what it is. So, but I do hope you guys appreciate the content and the deck profile here as well. If you guys did, make sure you guys like and subscribe. As always, thank you for the support, and I will see you guys in the next video.